Today we're going to address a fairly common issue, and that is squat form. A lot of people do squats and don't realize that they could continue to improve their form. So I'm going to break down the common mistakes that people make, ways to fix it, especially if you think that squats hurt your knees. If you're doing a squat right, it should not hurt. So I'll show you different levels of progression that you should get to before then loading yourself with weight on your back. First things first, common issues with the squat. Either your knees are driving forward, so people just drop down like this. That can put a lot of pressure on your knees. That's not really what we want to be doing here. Or your back is really arching. So oftentimes people are doing the right thing with their legs. They're dropping their hips back. Their knees are in a natural position here. Their knees are not past their toes. But we either don't have the ankle or hip mobility, or we don't have the core strength where we automatically drop down like this and then come up. That's how 90% of the people do squats at the gym. If your issue is that your knees are coming forward, we're actually going to work on pressing through your heels to engage the back of your body a little bit more, as opposed to just driving forward with your quads. This is just a training method. This is not something we're going to do long term. You're going to pick your toes up and then sit your bottom back like you're sitting in a chair. And then you're going to press through those heels without putting your toes back down. Now, you may only be able to get to here like this. That's fine. Over time, you'll be able to get lower and lower. I love to set my clients up to a mirror, kind of how I am to you right now. If they're here, I can pause them and say, hey, let's look in the mirror. Where are your knees in relation to your toes, okay? And then you can shift your body weight back. Now, balance-wise, that's going to be an issue for a lot of people. Same goes for this. If I tell you, okay, bring your torso back, bring your shoulders back, engage your abs, most people cannot just go right into that position. Most people would feel like they're going to fall back. If what I just showed you is how you usually do a squat, this is going to feel unnatural and you're going to want to lean forward. So what I would have my clients do is start here at a 90-degree angle with my knee. Lift their toes up, put their hands here to kind of help remind them to brace their core. And you're going to stand up, keeping your torso as tall as you can, squeezing with your bottom. Good. And then you're going to sit back down. Now we know that this couch is behind us because we stood up from it. But you might feel like, oh no, am I going to fall? Because you're not used to that position. So practicing a sit to stand is a really great way to challenge yourself and keep your knees more at a 90-degree angle so your knees are not passing your toes, but also to challenge yourself to engage your core here. If that's really hard for you and you have to bend forward to get some momentum, start on a higher surface. So start your sit from here. And eventually you'll be able to lower it more and more. Now, as I'm coming up from the squat, I'm engaging my glutes to squeeze up. So it's not all in the quads. Lots of energy is being used from right here, but also some from right here. The second thing I would have somebody do is actually hold their hands over their head. You could hold a bar like this, or you could hold a couple dumbbells or one dumbbell. And you're going to go from this position down into the squat, keeping your arms right by your ears. So if you start to go like this, you're going to see your arms falling forward. It's not going to feel comfortable on your shoulders if you have weight in your hands. This is going to help me to engage my abs now. If I didn't have my hands up, it'd be easy for me to drop and arch my back. My arms are up, my abs are engaged, then I sit down into that form. And you'll see how there's a natural arch in my back, not an overarch or a bend, okay? So I'm here, sit into that position as low as I can, squeeze my bottom, come up. My abs are engaged the whole time. A front squat, you can do this with a barbell, or you can do it with dumbbells. The dumbbells I'm going to hold right here. I'm actively engaging my abs. Same thing, my knees are not allowed to pass my toes here. Torso stays nice and tall, spine stays in a neutral position, which has a small curve in the back, but my abs are really tight. Now, if I had a barbell, it would look like this. Or another way to work on the lower back hinge and trying to use that as your balance as opposed to keeping your core tall and trusting your hips. I think it's called the dumpy squat. I wouldn't use this on a regular basis. This is a training technique. So I'm gonna have my client hold a long stick that is not a lot of weight. This is really just to help force you into a certain range of motion. I'm gonna hold this pretty close to my body. You're gonna wanna step out like this once you do this move because you're gonna wanna make space for your back, but that's what we're working on, is not allowing you to bend forward. So I'm gonna lock out my arms and bring them down on this pole here. My legs are aligned in the right position, my abs are engaged. As I push my bottom back, I'm gonna push this up into that corner without bending my arms. And once I'm to the bottom, then I squeeze my bottom and I come back up again without bending my arms. The tendency here is to want to bend the elbows, lean forward, and poke your butt out because you're used to compensating with your back. Keep your arms stiff, push up, trust those legs and hips, and push down as low as you can. Squeeze your bottom and come back up. If you can do that over and over and over again, eventually you'll be able to do it without that pole in your hand, keeping the torso nice and tall as opposed to buckling forward. I mentioned that ankle and hip mobility is very important in achieving a great squat form. So even if your squats look really good, like I know I have tight hips, I could continue to work on that. And it would allow me to get better and better and better into my squat. If you're looking at yourself in the mirror the whole time and you're not allowing your neck and back to go down at the same speed as if there was a pole going down your back, you'll end up like this, hurting your neck, okay? Or like this. We don't want extra tension where we don't need it, so you're gonna allow your head and neck to be aligned. If there's weight on our back, the weight should be right across here. It should not be up here pushing into our neck. It should be right here, nice and strong stance, and then I let my head go wherever my back goes so that my back stays neutral. Abs are engaged absolutely the whole time. You want your knees, your ankles, and your toes to be aligned. So the wider our squat is, the more our toes go out. The narrower our squat is, the more our toes are in. Same goes for the knees. You want to stay aligned. That's the goal here. I hear a lot of people say, push your knees out. You should give your knees space. You should if your problem is bringing your knees in, but you need to know your body and stay aligned. Ankles, knees, and toes are all aligned. So as I go down, they stay in that position. And as I come back up, if they're wobbling in or out, we need to just practice a squat with no weight at all before moving on to the next thing. Why is all of this important? If your legs are at the best angle possible, but your back is like this, and then you start to load yourself up with weight, over time, you could really develop back issues from squatting heavy without bracing your abs enough. This is another reason that I'm not a big fan of belts for people who are squatting. There's a use for it for power lifters when they are training for a specific sport to get a specific outcome. For functional movements for 90% of the population who are just trying to be comfortable, get in better shape, and feel good, you don't want to use anything like that to compensate and force your core in. You want to learn how to do that naturally. So that's why it's really important in preventing injury. Same thing goes for your knees. Your knees might not hurt right now if you are 20 years old and you're constantly squatting with poor form and your coach is just saying, go, 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 do as many as you can. Your knees aren't hurting yet, but they will at some point. So it's really, really important to slow down, learn the fundamentals of every single move before you then progress or go fast, because you're just gonna hurt yourself. This will allow you to maintain mobility throughout your whole life, but also the better range of motion you can get, the more results you're gonna see. Like if I squat with really, really good form, I actually feel my abs the next day. So you wanna get the biggest bang for your buck and work smarter, not harder. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more workout videos and nutrition tips like this.